All right. There has been a ton of chaos and the culture wars continue over NPR. A couple of things happened simultaneously this week that are worth discussing. Catherine Marr was named NPR's new CEO back in January. I'm going to have to give a little bit of a timeline here before I get comments from the boys because there's a little setup. And so she was named the CEO back in January. She officially started in March. Okay, she formerly worked at Wikimedia Foundation. Those are the people who run the Wikipedia, obviously. NPR's mission, if you don't know, is to create a more informed public, one challenged and invigorated by a deeper understanding and appreciation of events, ideas, and culture. That's their stated mission from their website. On April 9th, Uri Berliner, an editor who's been with NPR for 25 years, wrote an op-ed for Bari Weiss's Free Press, friend of the pod, explaining how NPR lost America's trust by going hard left and becoming closed-minded. He said, quote, an open-minded spirit no longer exists within NPR, and now, predictably, we don't have an audience that reflects America. Last Friday, Marr put out a statement calling his actions profoundly disrespectful, hurtful, and demeaning. This Sunday, conservative activist Christopher Rufo, he's the person who exposed former Harvard presidents Claudine Gay's plagiarism. He's a vocal critic of LGBTQ stuff at schools. Started reposting old tweets from Marr, this new CEO. Her tweets are super far left. Trump's a racist, yada, yada. There's an interesting clip of her talking at TED, talking about how truth is a bit of a distraction that prevents people from getting things done. People have gotten pretty inflamed about that clip. And then on April 16th, Berliner was suspended for 5 days without pay. Wrapping this all up, Berliner then resigned after 25 years, saying, quote, I cannot work in a newsroom where I am disparaged by a new CEO whose divisive views confirm the very problems at NPR I cite in my Free Press essay. Sachs, your thoughts?
I mean, this just seems like a dog bites man story. I mean, what is the novel revelation here? The person running NPR is a liberal? I mean...
I'm kind of with you, but...
What took 25 years to resign? I mean, all you have to do is listen to NPR. It's always been liberal, okay? This is not some recent capture of an institution by the left. So why is it going
so crazy viral right now? Why has this become the topic of the moment?
Well, apparently there are some quotes that this new CEO, Catherine Marr, tweeted or said that you can point to that seem kind of woke and kind of crazy woke, but they're just actually pretty standard. I just don't see the breaking news here. If they end up firing Catherine Marr, they're going to hire someone just like her. I mean, they're going to have the same views. NPR has always been left of center. And the only change that's happened is that the left has now become woke.
Yeah.
And so it's become obsessively focused with the ideas of white supremacy and white privilege. And she simply reflects that.
I agree. It's like a tempest in a teapot. Like, newsflash, NPR is woke and left-leaning. I mean, I guess maybe that somebody who was there for 25 years, wrote the expose is interesting, or I don't know. Chamath, any thoughts on this one and why it's taking up so much headspace for people?
I don't think it is. I think it's taking up a lot of headspace amongst breathless journalists. I don't think it matters to the public at large. I don't think anybody cares.
Can I just add one thing, which is, I do think that the government should not be funding this anymore. I think NPR at this point is mostly funded by private donations, but it got started with government money and the government still funds it. And given that it is this left institution at this point, and really always has been, there's simply no reason for the government to be funding one side of the political debate that way. So I think there is maybe an issue there in terms of reminding people that, hey, this is like government funded. Why? And there's no reason why NPR can't be funded with either private donations or private subscription dues.
This is just to give people some back of the envelope math. NPR's budget is like $320 million. It's $1 per American. And they get a bunch of programming fees and some corporate sponsorship. The corporate sponsorship is like $100 million. The programming fees is what the local radio stations play them. Net, this is costing like maybe, I don't know, 30 cents an American. And if you just swap out, and this is the way I like to look at these to be objective, if you were saying this was funding Fox News or, I don't know, Ben Shapiro and Daily Wire, how would you feel about it? You'd be like, well, why is the government funding that? They should just cut NPR and all this public broadcasting stuff loose over the next year or two, wind it down. and let them fend for themselves in the new media landscape.
Look, Jake, I agree with you. They could easily Substack it. NPR is not going to go away. Just create subscriptions and you're fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's only like they're down to whatever. It's very hard to find the numbers. There's a little like hiding of the money here, but there's so little at stake here. I think that's why it's so contentious. Nobody
The government
cares.
should not be funding one-sided ideological institutions on either side of the political debate. And you're right. If this was funding going to Daily Wire or something like that, people would be up in arms. So in any event, what's good
Cut
for the
'em
goose,
loose.
good for the gander.